Peace. Peace, peace, peace. All right, y'all. White women are finally getting called out on their bullshit, and I fucking love it. On social media from MySpace to when Facebook got the jumping, I always was pointing out that people are falling for white women bullshit. White women were trying to strategically separate themselves from white men. They were using phrases like white male privilege to distance themselves from slavery and Jim Crow and reaping the benefits of all the torture that white people did to black people. White women are trying and was trying to make it seem like they were not oppressors. I even seen black men co-sign this and say white women weren't oppressors. I even seen Talib Kweli on an interview basically take blame away from white women when it came to oppression. And I was a little upset because he claimed to have some form of knowledge of self. But then I said to myself, most niggas that claim to have knowledge of self don't anyway. So it's the best thing to teach. All right. So now that on social media, people seeing all these videos of white women calling the police on black people, killing black people like the white female officer that killed the black man on the interstate and got away with it. She didn't even spend 1 day in jail. She didn't even spend 5 minutes behind bars. Her bail was paid, had one of the lowest bails in the history of that state for a homicide. Now, here's the thing. I was going at this so hard, like, why are so many people, especially black women, falling for this feminist bullshit white women was pushing? Instead of saying white privilege, they try to switch it to white male privilege and make it seem like they are real minorities. Now, look, here's the thing. When it comes to slavery, black women, I want you to listen carefully. Black men listen too, but black women, specifically you, I especially want you to listen carefully. The slavery that we see on the West, or the Western Hemisphere, should I say, in North America, South America, and the West Indies, those things were ordained by white women. I'm going to give you the 2 names of these white women that I want y'all to research, and I'm going to give you a little evidence too. Queen Isabella, that's who funded Columbus. Remember, when Columbus first came to Cuba and the other parts of the West Indies, he brought back native slaves to Spain. Queen Isabella was going back and forth with it. That's why they called her the Catholic Queen. Look this shit up, y'all. She was called the Catholic Queen because she felt uneasy. But since Spain, their empire was broke basically. So when it came to trading African slaves, she gave Columbus and other slave traders the go-ahead. That's how you had this flood of slaves in the West Indies. It wasn't a white man that ordained that for Columbus. It was Queen Isabella. Now, I know some of y'all might say, well, what about her husband, King Ferdinand? This is why you need to research the history. Ferdinand, in most cases, was basically a simp. Queen Isabella was already a queen before she married him. Basically, her father left their country in debt, and the kingship went down to his son who died. So she took the throne, and she was running it, but she needed to marry somebody. They wanted her to marry like 4 other dudes, not Ferdinand. But she ended up marrying Ferdinand, and he allowed her to do whatever the fuck she wanted to do. Even when he disagreed with her, she would still do what she wanted to do. And Columbus had direct contact with Queen Isabella. Look this shit up, y'all. Matter of fact, if you think I'm bullshitting, go to Google and type in Queen Isabella connection to slavery with Christopher Columbus. This shit'll come up. So, black women, stop believing the hype, the feminist hype. Most black slaves are in the Western Hemisphere because of white women who ordained that. They signed off on it and gave the money for the slave ships for people like Columbus. Now, we talked about Queen Isabella. Now, one of the biggest names known in the slave trade is John Hawkins, who had the good ship Jesus. Now, many of you so-called woke Negroes, y'all know about the good ship Jesus now. But do you know who John Hawkins partnered with? Queen Elizabeth. Look this shit up. So, the English and the Spanish. It was the women who ordained slavery. And the reason why we are over here in the Western Hemisphere right motherfucking now is because of white women. They ordained it. And I'm not saying if they didn't ordain it, some white man wouldn't have came and done it. Maybe a white man would have came and done it. But we know from historical evidence that it was 2 fucking white women that did the most damage that signed that shit. As a matter of fact, if you think I'm joking, look up the treaty that Queen Isabella did with Portugal. Queen Isabella did a fucking treaty with Portugal to divide the fucking earth in parts. Meaning that this white woman was saying, you know what? Let me have this part of the world. Let me have this part of the earth, and you can have this part. I could take my slaves over here, and you could do what the hell you want in Brazil. That was a fucking white woman. You know what? Matter of fact, let me show y'all something. Because some of y'all need to see evidence. I traveled. This is currency from like 5 different countries. And one of the things that you would notice on this fucking currency is white women. 5 different countries that's not in Europe. Those are white queens on that currency. That's because it's historical. It's historically known who was given the orders to go take slaves to countries because it was white women that was ruling at the fucking time. So black women, please start studying history, not in a biased sense where you're just looking for the wrong the white man did. You better look to your little white so-called sister that you want to be feminist with, because they are the reason why slaves was taken to Jamaica, Hispaniola, North America, and part of South America till the Portuguese got in it. Queen Isabella and Queen Elizabeth are the main fucking problem that happened in the past dealing with slavery with black people. So when you want to talk this shit about white women didn't do this, you're a fucking lie. Check the money of black and brown countries. You're going to see there are white queens on that money because they was ruling, and you're going to see white men on some of the money too because they was ruling. So it wasn't no fucking discrepancy. It wasn't no fucking difference between the white man and the white woman like white women want us to believe, like they was oppressed too. They are motherfucking lie. White women was helping rule this world through slavery and thievery, taking land and giving the orders to kill native people, giving the order to kill so-called Africans, and giving the order to enslave us, paying for slave ships. So next time y'all want to believe that all the blame going to white man, do some fucking research on history. I'm out. Peace.